Hit me.
From Studio A in Arcata, behind the redwood curtain, it's time for...
Succotash.
Succotash Clips, the original Comedy Soundcast featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And here's your host from up the coast, practically unknown outside of comedy soundcasting, Comedy Soundcast Soundcaster, Tyson Saner.
Saluton, Estas me, Tyson Saner. Welcome to Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, the podcast that dares to call itself a soundcast and features clips of comedy soundcasts from all around the internet because, well, that's generally where soundcasts are stored and ultimately found and clipped by yours truly. It's late October, but not yet Halloween as I write this. Even so, if you celebrate Halloween, I'd like to wish you a happy one early because the next episode of Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast will post afterwards. Truth is, I'll probably wish you a happy after Halloween pre-Thanksgiving when the time comes because reasons. Coming up later in the program, we've got clips from H3 Podcast, How to Be a Person, Threedom, Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast, Hollywood Handbook, and Good One, a podcast about jokes. We've also got a double dose of raging moderate Will Durst Bursts of Durst segment and a reading from our too new to have developed even a hint of patina sponsor, TrumPoetry.com. Are you ready? If not, remember that you can hit that pause button if needed. It's one of the beautiful things about a soundcast, the choice of when to listen. And choice is important, is it not? Just as it's my choice to leave that pause there. Alright, let's go. Opening the program tonight, our first Burst of Durst from raging moderate Will Durst. This one is from October 12th, 2018. It's called The Midterm Intervention, in which our intrepid correspondent gets a little strident, but for a good cause.
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words on the upcoming midterms, the most important election of our lifetime. Yeah, we hear that every even-numbered November by every politician in every competitive race, the difference being, this time they're right. This isn't just an election, it's an intervention. This is a referendum on the Oval Office Oompa Loompa, and both sides are counting on energizing their base to get the vote out. So get out there and vote. Go out and vote like you've never voted before. Vote like it's going out of style. Vote as if the lives of your children are at stake. Vote like they're trying to take it away from us, because they are. Vote as if the whole world were watching, because it is. Don't just talk about voting, read about voting, write about voting, shout and flail your arms about voting, grab random folks on the street by their lapels and shake them until they have seizures about voting. We have to show up in such numbers that anyone even thinking of tampering with the election will be intimidated like a poodle in a rhinoceros paddock. Pay no attention to the billionaire PACs, the hacking Russians, or our own Justice Department, or the National Enquirer's pecker. Democracy is a participatory sport. It's not meant to be watched from the sidelines. We have to exercise our electoral muscle before it atrophies. Use it or lose it, people. Get pumped up. If you don't vote, you can't bitch. And we do plenty of that, don't we? Besides, if we don't vote, how will we ever know how close the polls actually were? Vote early. Vote often. Adopt a dead voter. Where? In Chicago. Vote! For Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
And thank you, Will Durst. We'll be hearing one more of those before the evening is done. Now to the clips. First up tonight, H3 Podcast by Ethan Klein. Its description on iTunes reads, the official podcast of comedians Ethan and Eli Klein of H3H3 Productions. A little word about H3H3 Productions from Wikipedia. H3H3 Productions, often shorted to H3H3 or simply H3, is a comedy YouTube channel produced by husband and wife duo Ethan and Eli Klein. Their content mostly consists of reaction videos and sketch comedy in which they satirize internet culture. In addition to their main channel, they run a secondary vlog channel by the name of Ethan and Hila, and a third called H3 Podcast. The H3 Podcast channel features live streams that were originally live on their Twitch.tv channel. The podcast covers a variety of topics, some controversial. There's also H3 Podcast Highlights YouTube channel, which features short clips of the podcast. Podcast primarily features Ethan and Hila interviewing celebrities and YouTubers. Podcast also has a Top of the Week segment where Ethan and Hila comment on current events involving the internet and the world. Our clip is from the podcast version of episode 84 from September 12, 2018. The description for this episode reads, on this episode of the H3 podcast, we're joined in the studio by Bill Burr. Together we discuss bad dog owners, being a dental assistant, parenting, Sherry's Berries, podcasting, all things comedy, and a whole lot more. Bill Burr is a stand-up comedian and actor who will be performing at Madison Square Garden on November 7th, 2018. And in this clip, Ethan, Hila, and Bill discuss having children and the All Things Comedy Network, whose comedian-based podcast content has been frequently featured on Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, including About Last Night with Adam Ray and Brad Williams, Birdcast from comedian Bert Kreischer, and Skeptic Tank with Ari Shafir, just to name a few.
I have a question about your you being a dad and having a kid. We have been trying to have a kid, and the longer it takes, we also kind of second question the whole thing. Like, should we have a kid?
It's awesome. It's one of the few things that truly lives up to the hype.
Really?
All these years of being lied to about these summertime movies. The kid thing it's awesome. And, what do I know? I'm only a year and a half in. So my year and a half experience has been incredible. And the only advice I would give you is don't listen to 90% of other parents. Because for some reason they take a joy out of trying to ruin the experience. Saying like, "Oh, you wait, this is your first one. Oh, everything's gonna change. No more drinking. Oh my God, get sleep now." And they just hit you with all this dread. And I was just looking at them like, "You sound like a terrible father. Like you don't sound like you're enjoying it." And that really, no. I want it. And they start saying, "Well, why didn't you say all that positive stuff, you cunt?" You know what I mean? Like it's just how.
People just like to complain, I guess.
And they like knowing shit.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Trying to like...
pass on the knowledge.
Yeah, it's just like...
But in an annoying way.
Yeah, no, like...
Bill Burr, the optimist, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, I
got a lot of sweetness in you.
Yeah, no. I am not what people think.
I want to ask you about All Things Comedy. You've got what is All Things Comedy? Is it a production company? Is it a podcasting network? I mean, this is a company.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything. It started out. We, years ago, we were watching the whole podcast thing exploding, and then watching what always happens. Like the artists create a scene, and then the businessman comes in and is like, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to wrangle all this up. I'm going to own it, but you're going to get all this exposure. And you're going to have to tap dance for the rest of your night, and I'm going to have a fucking yacht in 5 years, right? So we're like, well, what's stopping us? At this point, the technology had come about where you could actually start your own thing. And there was podcast networks out there where they were doing this thing where they owned a percentage of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Like owned your podcast. And we were telling everybody, going, dude, you don't have to give that away. But like...
you see that kind of stuff on YouTube a lot too.
Yeah. Right, but a lot of people from my generation, in a weird, like a prison kind of thing, you were institutionalized, where you just thought, I can't own anything. I need to go to bigger thing. It's like, no, dude, you have your own TV right here, your own channel. So we tried to do more of a co-op where everybody owns the thing, owns their podcast. And
that's
interesting. So that's basically, and we all hype each other's projects.
That's very cool.
Paul Verzi's, one of the guys on our network from the Verzi Effect podcast, when he had his first comedy CD come out, we all tweeted about it at the same time, and he put out a great album, and that came together, and he went number one on iTunes in both the United States and in Canada as an unknown at that point. And now we just produced a stand-up special for him for Comedy Central. And Comedy Central has bought 3 more hours from us, so we're going to be produced. So now we kind of get to pick the people that we like. Really these guys, men and women that we think are hilarious. So, so it's almost I'm currently writing a movie, and we partnered with Soapbox Films, and I'm writing with somebody who isn't with All Things Comedy, but if he likes it, we're going to drive it through there and just kind of build this thing up. And the whole thing was, to do this, trying to do it the right way was quite a task, but we wanted to have comedians to have a friggin' ray of light that they could go to, where everybody wasn't just trying, to fuck you over like on specials and stuff, like the shit that goes down.
Really?
The stuff that goes down.
You mean like slices of the pie going in all different directions?
Like people having side deals with networks that suck or are going out of business. That's something that we ran into. And it's just like, hey, every special you bring us to, you get $60,000. So then all of a sudden, this guy for $60,000 is now going to tell you, hey, go to this shithead network instead of like Netflix or something where it's going to be seen. Yeah, and it's just like that's only the tip of the iceberg, and then expenses and all this and all this stuff, and
sky high expenses with no accountability.
Yes, all of that type. Well, the thing was, back in the day, it was like, I swear to God, there were some people that literally had inside people like TMZ has at the airports to say, what celebrities are going through. They would literally have inside people at the network, and they would figure out what your budget was, because you get in business with a production company and you'd be like, what can you shoot this for? And it's like, well, how much money you got? It's like, well, I'm not going to fucking tell you that. Exactly. And they would somehow, I swear to God, if you had $1 million, they'd be like, we did the budget. It's going to be like $999,000. And then if you had $9, it'd be like, it's going to be $8.99. They always vacuumed up everything but that final fucking 8%. Right. And then that they went out and they shot the thing for 70, not even, probably whatever the number was.
Yeah.
And they just
skimmed it.
Just took it. No, that's skimming, dude. They took a giant fucking shovel out of there.
All right.
If you want to watch H3 Podcast on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/the letter H, the numeral 3, PODCAST, H3 Podcast. You can reach Ethan Klein on Twitter at H3H3 Productions, Hila Klein at HILAKLEIN H3 on Twitter. You can reach the H3 Podcast at THEH3PODCAST on Twitter, and Bill Burr at Bill Burr, BILLBURR, and All Things Comedy Network at All Things Comedy, ALLTHINGSCOMEDY. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Spotify, and you can go to their home site at www.h3h3productions.com. Second up tonight, How to Be a Person by Mike Drucker and Jess Dweck. Its description reads, comedy writers Mike Drucker from The Tonight Show, The Onion and Marble, and Jess Dweck from The Tonight Show and Late Night invite fellow comedians, writers, and other interesting people to teach them how to be normal human beings. This clip is from episode 148 from May 10th, 2018. It's called How to Reheat Pizza and Get Airline Miles. Its description reads, comedian Samantha Ruddy comes on the show to teach us the secret to perfectly reheated pizza. In parentheses it says, it's not more cheese. And how to collect airline miles in a possibly financially questionable way. Should you do it? We can't legally say. And then parentheses it says, probably not. This clip features talk of the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal, being multilingual, and, as advertised, how to reheat pizza.
Either of you guys ever been to Just for Laughs in Montreal?
No.
Nope.
It's like a fun comedy festival, but it's very weird because they do have a lot of French comedy.
Mm-hmm. Really? So, I didn't know that.
They do. And so the English comedy, which is it features people from all over the world who speak English, is like what you'd expect, like stand-up improv sketch. And the French comedy is like what you would see in a nightmare. There's literally mimes, there's people in big costumes doing this performance art thing, and you're like, this is like if you made fun of French comedy, it's what you would see at that festival.
That sounds genuinely amazing.
How do they translate it?
They don't.
Oh, they do. I was just wondering what the French version of Just for Laughs was,
Oh, it's whatever the French phrase is. I don't speak French.
Okay. It's just curious how they do it.
No idea.
Okay.
No idea. I took German. Big mistake. Do you speak French?
No, I wish. I took Spanish for 5 years. But
you made the correct decision.
I don't speak it.
It's extremely useful.
I mean, I guess I can when I'm on the subway and I see Spanish ads, I can read them for the most part.
Yeah, that's useful.
I can't speak it at all.
The only time in the last couple years knowing French, it's at all mattered, and it's actually it even doesn't matter. I was on the subway. There's those signs in all the different languages, and I recognized Haitian Creole just barely.
Nice.
So it was phonetically spelled out.
Okay, yeah.
French with an accent.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're useless human beings. If there was an apocalypse, none of us would make it.
I can't make a fire, but I can conjugate, être and avoir verbs.
Right.
So.
You can't make a fire, but you could sass it on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh.
Your Twitter's great.
I hate you. Thank you.
See?
Thank you.
Told you.
Yeah, you have a good Twitter.
Thank you.
I wish I could say like, oh, it's nothing, but I put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, you can tell because like it'll be like whatever joke everyone's making jokes about that day, but you always have like a unique take, which is so hard.
Thank you. Twitter is genuinely my only source of like raising my self-esteem right now. So no, over the last like couple of years, like if I didn't have Twitter, I would just feel terrible about myself. So thank you.
Let me give you a retweet in real life.
What'd you say?
Being friends with you, you still feel terrible a lot.
No, I know.
Okay, so you are here to teach us a couple things. First of all, you said you were good at reheating pizza.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm so curious about this.
Okay, so there's a way to do it.
Okay.
You can get it to the point where it's almost as good as when you got it.
What?
All right.
Yeah. So what you got to do is you get the pizza and you put it on a microwave safe plate, and then you put it in the microwave for like 15, 20 seconds, depending on the power of your microwave, like 15, 20 seconds, no longer than 30 seconds.
Okay.
And then you get a skillet. And you don't put any butter or anything on it, just like with a skillet, the pizza will be fine. And you put the pizza on it, and you put it on low. And you just go low and slow for a little bit. And, you can kind of just poke at the pizza, see what the temp is like. Temperature, sorry. I didn't mean to be so conversational. See what the temperature's like.
By temp, what do you mean? Temporary?
Temp. Yeah, so you're going to see what the temperature's like.
Great.
And then after about like 15, 20, it's just like pizza that you got from a slice place.
Oh, wow.
Because it crisps up the crust. So that, because the thing with the microwave is the cheese is good, but the crust is disgusting.
Yeah, that's what it's
And
about.
with the skillet, sometimes the
okay.
cheese doesn't get cooked enough, but the crust is great.
Right.
So if you do one and then the other, it's like perfect.
Interesting. I thought all you were going to say was sprinkle some extra cheese on it, put it in the microwave.
No.
But that makes
There's a
no
system.
sense.
System.
Wow. Can you also, let's say I don't have a skillet.
Okay. Yeah, you can
I
just
have
use
like
a
a big pan.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I said skillet because I wanted to make myself sound more knowledgeable.
What is a skillet? Just like a flat
I don't
thing?
know.
You're not allowed
I'm
to
going to be
ask
honest.
that.
I don't know what a
It's a
skillet
very
is.
It
offensive
sounds
question.
great.
It sounded right,
Yeah.
I do know what I'm talking about,
Sure.
I will say
for the most part.
also no idea the difference between a skillet and a frying pan.
There is none.
Is it the
I'm
same?
imagining a skillet's like a
Chefs are bad
square
people and they're lying.
thing.
I
No.
guess.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
No, that's
We
not
could
right.
all Google
That's
it, but this is more fun to try to detective it out.
skillet.
That's like the 90s in here.
Skillet.
What's a skillet?
What's a skillet?
The French would say skillet.
skillet?
Is that how-
No, I'm
Actually-
just pronouncing
The
skillet.
Spanish would say skiet.
I don't know what the Germans would say. I don't know the
I
words
might have
for
spelled
anything
skillet
anymore.
wrong.
It'd
There's
just be
two L's,
skillet.
right? Double L, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in German it would still be like skillet.
Let's just never know what a skillet is.
You can reach out to Mike Drucker at MikeDrucker. You can reach out to Jess Dweck at THEDWECK. Samantha Ruddy at Samly Matters, that's SAMLYMATTERS. And the show does not appear to have a dedicated Twitter account, but their main site is listed on iTunes, is howtobeaperson.libsyn.com/podcast. Aside from iTunes, you can find them on Stitcher, and I found them on Laughable. Appropriately, in the third position tonight, it's Threedom by Earwolf. Its description reads, Scott Aukerman, Lauren Lapkus, and Paul F. Tompkins abandoned their regular formats to focus on the basics of being funny with each other. Can't wait to hear more episodes? For more info and archive episodes, go to earwolf.com. Currently, there are about 4 episodes. There may be more by the time this posts. This clip is from episode number 1 from October 4th, 2018, titled This Was a Mistake, whose description reads, on the first episode of Threedom, hosts Scott Aukerman, Paul F. Tompkins, and Lauren Lapkus discuss what inspired their new podcast. In Lauren's segment, that's really good, that's 2 people improvise a boring conversation while the third laughs and makes up an excuse to leave. Then the 3 hosts try to decide what the show should be called. This clip features some discussion about the philosophy of optimistic nihilism.
I like how pointless things are in my mind. I mean, that's kind of my whole approach to life.
I feel that way about I feel that way about the ocean. Like the idea of the ocean making you feel small or space making you feel small, I actually find that comforting.
Yeah.
Really?
It's that I'm just like a tiny speck in this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a dog that
It kind of takes the pressure off.
A
you know
dog
what I mean?
likes its crate. It likes to be
Dog
confined.
loves its crate.
You should. I'm going to send you this video, and everyone can go Google it. It's called Optimistic Nihilism, and it's on YouTube, and it's this whole little thing that kind of like expresses that idea in a way that I really like.
In a way that's – and how is it comforting, though, to know that nothing you do will ever matter?
Because it's
awesome.
comforting. It's comforting to know that that's just the deal. Do you know what I mean?
It's true
and
for
it's
everyone.
the same
That's
for
the
everyone.
pact that we've made with the universe.
That's we all just happen to be here, and it's you know, we're all going through the same stuff. We're all having these feelings, and it's very. I feel like it connects me more to the world than it makes me feel like a minuscule part of
So
it.
then what is the point?
Of everything?
Yeah.
Fucked if I know, dude.
Is it the effect that you have on other people? Is it I think
I think so, to some extent. I mean, I think that's why I like doing podcasts and stuff, even though it can feel like it's pointless sometimes. Because you're like, why are we doing one? But the idea that you could make someone's day better is nice, because there's no point to anything. So if you're going to be sad and feel bad, maybe you could laugh a little bit, and then it's better.
And it's not just entertainers who do that. So it's not just entertainers whose lives are worthwhile.
Well, no, I mean,
but
why do
like
we,
anyone
why
can
choose...
do that for other people, and it's not just when we're doing podcasts.
No, I meant like, why do I choose this specific activity?
Right.
Or why is it meaningful? But of course, everyone's life is meaningful, and that's also the point.
Right.
All lives matter. I understand.
That's what I've been trying to say for years, and I'm wearing shirts that say that. That's why I don't understand what's happening in our world right now, though, because it seems like everyone's just doing horrible things for no reason.
Yeah.
We're all going to die. Why do you have to take away everyone's health care? Why do you have to make it so women can't have abortions? I don't understand.
Well, some of it's money, because money, everyone wants more money. Regardless.
But that's dumb too.
Yeah.
I mean, I want it too, but I mean, it's because of the way everything is that I want it.
I was thinking about Aaron Spelling the other day, and forgive me if anyone who knows Aaron Spelling or their family is out there, but I was thinking about like all the money that he made, right? Mm-hmm. And supposedly he doesn't give it to Tori Spelling. Like Tori Spelling didn't get any of it, right?
Ugh.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's nasty.
Or maybe she gets like a tiny, tiny sliver or whatever.
She got $1,000.
How terrible would that be?
So mean.
All right, it's time to read the will. Tori, 1,000
That would be worse than
smackers.
nothing.
In cash.
Now get out of here. Throws it at her. No, but I mean, what's the point of making all that money? Like more money than he could ever spend, right?
Yeah.
And I bet he loved the work, and that was maybe more important, you know? But why make all the money if you're not just going to give it to your loved ones? Like what?
I know, I don't understand.
Like I was thinking about that with Jay Leno recently. You know, we were talking about how he doesn't spend his
doesn't touch the Tonight Show.
Wait,
Tonight
he
Show money,
doesn't?
right?
He lives. He said this many times that he lives off of his stand-up comedy money. He never touches
what?
He just puts it in the bank.
Be in Persian.
When was the last time he did stand up?
He does it all the time.
He did it all the time.
He would do
so
it.
he'd make a lot of money doing it.
Yes.
He
never stopped.
He would
doing
leave.
stand-up.
Okay, I
he would
didn't know
leave the
that.
Tonight
Even during
Show.
the Tonight Show, yes.
He would leave the
Okay.
Tonight Show on Friday afternoon, do a whole weekend of shows, come back to the Tonight Show.
Damn,
Monday
he
morning.
worked hard.
He works really hard, but
That's
my
why
whole
he dressed
point,
that way.
rolling up the sleeves.
Yeah, he wear full denim,
Hard
Canadian tuxedo. He's a hard worker.
But my thing is he's made a lot of money. He's never touching that money, but is he touching it now? What is he doing with it? He doesn't have kids. Like what?
Yeah, that seems weird to not enjoy it or to not to give it to people.
I have to say I didn't. I used to those Star Wars prequels. I was like mad at George Lucas, like a typical nerd. Like you ruined it. And the day that he sold Star Wars to Disney for $1 billion, right? And he gave it all away to charity.
So awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, there you go. That's what you do. That's what you do with your money. If you're not
That's
going to
so
give it to your
cool.
kid, and he has a lot of kids.
Yeah.
He's adopted a lot of kids.
How many kids does he have?
15.
I love adoption.
I don't know how many kids.
I don't know. They're all Star Wars characters too. It's like the
He adopted
cantina
the
in there.
actors and
They're
made
just
them be
dolls.
No, he's adopted a lot of kids from other countries and
That's
stuff
very
like that. But that's I don't know. So
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I feel that way. Like I'm not rich like that, but like I like to feel like I can.
you're almost rich like that.
Look, I almost have billions of dollars. I mean, I feel like I'm in a place with my life where I can afford the things I like to do, and that feels good. But I like to like give my family gifts, and my dream is to be able to like pay for my family's homes and things. Like that would be like that's really one of the
You know
driving
what?
forces.
I'll pay for your family's home.
But I feel like it would feel so good to
As
do that.
my Christmas gift for you this year.
Okay, great. If you want to.
Would you take that?
Yeah. You're giving it away.
But you
Why
wouldn't
do you
have
buy me
earned
a
it.
house? I don't own a house.
You can reach Scott Aukerman on Twitter at SCOTTAUKERMAN, Lauren Lapkus at LAURENLAPKUS, Paul F. Tompkins at capital P, capital F, capital T, OMKINS, and you can reach the show at Threedom USA, which is THREEDOM USA. The show can be heard on Earwolf, Stitcher, on Art19, and on Howl.fm. And the show's home site appears to be www.earwolf.com/show/Threedom.
This episode of Succotash is sponsored in part by TrumPoetry.com, a chronological ode to a fake muse. Enjoy a rhyming spin on the news of the day every day, as well as over 500 archived daily verses thoroughly covering the White House, America, and the world with a sticky caramel coating that's impossible to remove. That's TRUMPoetry.com. Everything you need to know in rhyming couplets. TrumPoetry.com.
Yes, that spot can only mean one thing. It is time for the reading of TrumPoetry.com for this episode. From October 20th, 2018, number 824. Of good news, we don't have a lot. Vote suppression, democracy rot, Saudi murder excuses, those Proud Boy abuses, but in Canada there's now legal pot. And from October 22nd, 2018, number 822. A senator named of Ted Cruz has allegiances that can confuse. Trump insulted him bad, dissed his wife and his dad, but is still an endorsement to use.
Right? Right.
You can find the archive at TRUMPOETRY.com.
Ghosts and goblins, Frodo and Spider-Man, and lots of slutty nurses all wandering the streets can only mean one thing. No, not Fleet Week. It's Halloween. This special time every year, Henderson's restocks the shelves and interwebs with our Deathly Halloween. More than just a pair of pants and yet not quite a full-blown costume, Henderson's Deathly Halloween is meant to be worn under your disguise to make sure your Halloween stays safe, sane, and filled with treats. The wizards at Henderson's Tailoring Factory start with a thin yet comfy layer of 100% cotton lining. Stitched to that is a second layer, this one made from 70 mil thick military-grade Kevlar. Finally, your Deathly Halloween is coated with waterproof matte black acrylic, strong enough to keep you safe in the darkest night, whether it's hailing hail or bullets. Henderson's Deathly Halloween is also light enough to assure that you can keep tricking and treating until the cows come home. Moms and dads, Henderson's wants to remind you that not even our Deathly Halloween can guarantee complete protection from the lowlives and scumbags that are waiting to prey on your precious children. It can't detect razor blades and apples or roofies and Rolos. So when you steal your kids' candy while they sleep, be extra careful and take a good look at what you're biting into before it bites into you. Henderson's Deathly Halloween was originally designed for Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Michael Myers. Not the unstoppable killing machine from the Halloween movie franchise, but that unstoppable mugging machine from Wayne's World. That's Henderson's. Fine trousers and costumery since 1549. And now back to Succotash.
All right, fourth up. Here's one that I've clipped for Succotash in the past. It's Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast by Gilbert Gottfried. But for those who've never heard it before, its description reads, comedian and actor Gilbert Gottfried, a man Stephen King once called a national treasure, talks with the show business legends, icons, and behind-the-scenes talents who shaped his childhood and influenced his comedy. Along with co-host and fellow pop culture fanatic Frank Santopadre, Gilbert is joined by comics, actors, musicians, talk show hosts, writers, and other eyewitnesses to Hollywood history, including Bruce Dern, Chevy Chase, Weird Al Yankovic, Adam West, Steve Buscemi, Mickey Dolenz, Jim Gaffigan, Judd Apatow, and dozens more. For a funny, frenetic, fly-on-the-wall look at showbiz then and now, but mostly then, Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast was named Best Podcast of 2015 by The Village Voice and one of the iTunes Best of 2014. It has been featured in Rolling Stone, Wired, and the Los Angeles Times. This clip is from episode 220 from August 13th, 2018. in which, as the description reads, Gilbert and Frank welcome an old friend, legendary comedy writer Bruce Vilanch, who looks back at the golden age of TV variety shows and specials, including Donnie and Marie, The Brady Bunch Hour, the Star Wars Holiday Special, and the Paul Lynde Halloween Special, all co-written by Bruce himself. Also, Margaret Hamilton makes her move. Robert Reed channels Carmen Miranda, Jack Benny does the match bit, and Gilbert takes over Hollywood Squares. Plus, Jack Palance, Bob Hope's filing cabinet, Wayne Newton at SeaWorld, Bruce hangs out with Tallulah Bankhead, and the Oscar joke that never made the air. This clip features the telling of an encounter with Donny Osmond and includes a brief bit about actor and war hero Charles Durning.
There's a famous Vilanch story that Donny Osmond, when he was about 5 or something, said to you, "Oh, you look like a big Muppet."
It was the first day on the show.
Yes.
He came into my office to meet me, and he looked at me, and I had a huge beard and a lot of hair. I was very Unabomber in my look, and I was larger than I am now. And behind it, there wasn't a desk that fit. They had to go down to KTLA and get the news anchor desk and bring it up from my desk. So I was a formidable presence, but fluffy, and kind of squishy and cute. And he came in and looked at me and he said, "You look just like a Muppet." And I said, "It's the funniest thing. Jim Henson had his hand up my ass not 10 minutes ago." I think I said fist up my ass not 10 minutes ago. And there was this pause, this long pause, and he started giggling and also doing what turned out to be the moonwalk, backing out of the office while giggling. And I thought, okay, I'm done here. I always thought I was done there. I thought I'd never survive. And then he decided I was okay. I was one of them. I wasn't one of them. I was one of them. I was like an ally because he was always looking for people who would enable him to get out from under the family, because the family was completely suffocating. I mean, these kids had only known the family, and when I say the family, I mean everything: religion, family, business, show business. All was one great big ball of wax that was the Osmond empire. And those kids were a part of it, and there was no escaping. They lived together, and they worked together, and they did everything as a unit. And so anybody who could, spring him from that for an hour to go get his face sanded was the ally.
Mm-hmm.
And Marie was like that, too, except she had to fight her way in because they didn't want her to be – she was supposed to be a good Mormon housewife. And they had 14 kids, one of them a girl. And – they didn't want her to do it. They were promoting Jimmy.
I remember Jimmy.
Who was at the time. They said, "Isn't he wonderful?" And I would
Little
say,
Jimmy Osmond.
I said, "Yeah, he looks like they let the air out of Wayne Newton." Yeah. That was then. Then subsequently I got friendly with him. He became a TV producer, and I was in a TV movie that he produced.
No kidding.
Yeah, I played Santa's elf. It's called It Nearly Wasn't Christmas.
How nice you've both played elves.
Charles Durning was Santa Claus, and I was the elf on steroids. I was all little people. All the other elves were little people. We shot the whole thing in, guess where? Utah! Where Jimmy Osmond built a studio in Orem, Utah. And the Jews flew up. A plane load of Jews would fly up every week to do the show.
What was Durning like, as long as you've mentioned?
Durning was
somebody we love to talk about on this show.
He was hysterical, and he was a great raconteur, and he was a wonderful actor and very naturalistic, and was not one of these actors who spent a lot of time on process. If he did, it was privately. He got to the set and he was just kind of ready to go. I mean, and we'd rehearse it, and then right before we would do the take, he'd say, "Is that how you're going to do it in the take? The way you did it in the rehearsal?" And I wasn't sure if you say you wanted to make sure or you didn't like what I did in the rehearsal. Because at that point they said, "And action." So we would play this. So this was just his, right.
Was he busting balls?
Oh, no.
No, he was serious.
There was a child actress in the thing. She was local, which by local in Utah means they brought her in from Denver because they were cheaper than flying her in. So, and she was good, but she was like a bratty kid. And we were driving home from the set the first day that she worked, and he said, you know, I met her this morning, and I thought, what a cute little kid. And now I've worked with her all day, and fuck, it's Faye Dunaway.
Wow.
So I mean, that was, you know, he absolutely brooked no trout.
We love character actors on the show. We love to talk about people like him and Jack Warden, and who Gilbert's worked with. You never worked with Durning, Gilbert.
I know. I would have loved.
Oh, he had great. We also had war stories. He had literal war stories.
Oh, I know.
I know. But he fought in the war, and he killed people, and he carried this tremendous guilt around.
That's what we heard.
Because he said everybody who I killed was a kid. He said they were like teenage soldiers by the time I got over there, and they were fighting the last stand. And he said it was heartbreaking because I would be close enough to actually shoot them, and I had to. It was him or me. And since it was always a kid, I knew he would shoot me, so I had to shoot him first. But he, you know, I'm doing a very abbreviated,
of course,
version of it. But I mean, with Charles Durning telling you this, you know, I mean, it's Charles Durning.
He must have liked you, because my understanding was that he did not like talking about that to anyone.
Oh, right.
He must have taken you into his confidence.
I heard Charles Durning was among the troops liberating the camp.
Yes,
right.
Too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was.
You can reach out to Gilbert Gottfried on Twitter at RealGilbert. That's RealGilbert. Frank Santopadre at FrankSantopadre. The show on Twitter at RealGilbertACP. That's RealGilbertACP. The Twitter account for Bruce Valanche appears to be at the Bruce Valanche. TheBruceVilanch, which has a link to his website, which is wegotbruce.com. That is WeGotBruce.com. Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast can be found at Art19, SoundCloud, Airwolf, Stitcher, and Podbay. Or you can go to www.gilbertpodcast.com. Next up, Hollywood Handbook by Airwolf and Hayes Davenport, Sean Clements. Its description reads, Hollywood Handbook is an insider's guide to achieving your showbiz dreams from two A-list it boys who are living theirs. Hayes and Sean provide an exclusive VIP backstage pass into Tinseltown politics, answer questions from unsuccessful listeners, and bring in famous guests to discuss their craft and how they became what they are, famous. This clip is from the episode from July 17th, 2018, titled Patton Oswalt, Our Close Friend, in which, as the description reads, the famous Patton Oswalt, all caps, finally joins the conversation to discuss an upcoming event with the boys. This clip features a segment from that conversation that raises the question of whether or not certain animated rodents exist in a shared universe.
Question for, let me think of a good one. Do you have one? Yeah, I'll ask one.
Okay, great.
Was Ratatouille friends with the Great Mouse Detective?
Ratatouille, you know what? That, I don't know if there was a connection there. We were just basically focused on the rat was cooking. And also,
There's no mention if they're friends.
They don't mention it. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe I should go to the IMDb trivia
the
question.
Friends tab. You don't even do the trivia one. If you hit Friends next to the character name,
are there Friends tabs on?
Yes, it shows what other characters that character is friends with.
Hang on, let's do that right. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Yeah,
let's pull up IMDb.
Hit the Friends. Oh my God, there is a Friends tab. That's I've never. Hang on. Okay, Remy. Let's see. Oh, that's okay. Jake Gittes from Chinatown. I don't see how that's possible.
Well, he has a heart of gold, honestly.
Right.
He seems very gruff on the outside.
I guess, but that's a strange... He's
trying to do something nice. And he hurt his nose.
Richard Gere's character from Red Circle. That was a movie about a trial in China, wasn't it?
Was red in the title?
Seems like a
from
Chinese
that era,
thing.
gotta be a Chinese movie.
Yeah, hang on. Main kid from Last Starfighter. That's strange, how they were friends. Is he friends with anyone who is a rodent or is from France?
I was thinking, maybe Stuart Little or maybe even Gerard Depardieu.
No, none of that. No, there's no Templeton the Rat. There's no Ben or Willard. That is weird. You know
Willard
what?
was friends with so many rats.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
I gotta
little
say,
bit of a
It's
middle
interesting.
finger to Remy.
You know, there's kind of two kinds of people who make friends in Hollywood, right? And there's ones who have real friends,
right?
And then as they ascend to the next rung, they reach down and bring their friends up. And then there's ones who, when they get to the next rung, they're reaching up and grabbing the feet of a Richard Gere from Red Circle.
They slam that door
They
behind
close
them.
the hatch.
This is actually, now that I think about it, Remy basically hangs out with humans, so maybe there's a thing they don't explore. I don't think he likes other rats. I think he may be one of those like self-hating.
Yeah,
There
that
you go.
sounds right.
Yeah, boy.
Ooh, what a complicated character you portray.
I didn't know he was that complicated. I thought I was just trying to make a nice plate of food.
Right.
And now you just, thanks.
But for who, right? Who was the nice
For
food
who?
for?
Exactly. Richard
All
Gere.
the fancy,
My gosh.
Red
Thanks
Circle. Might have been Japanese.
Thanks for...
Now that I think about it.
Could have been.
He might have been.
Because if you notice, their favorite picture in Japan is of a red circle. There's a picture that they hang up everywhere.
Yes.
That's a picture. Yeah, and that must be an important picture because a lot of times it's not even on paper.
Yes.
It's on like cloth. Yeah, so that means like that's an extra
and
level.
it's too high for anyone to
because they don't
reach.
want anyone messing around with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll put it up like they'll find a very long stick, put that in the ground. But where does the picture go?
Way up high. You sound like you've been there.
No, you pointed it out. I just realized they do that a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
Never been.
No, never been. I know so much about Japan, and yet I've never been there or really have any Japanese friends. But
Have you
I
had sushi?
feel like
Have you had sushi?
I've had some sushi. Mm-hmm. Every bite is the history of Japan, isn't it? Like by default.
Yes.
I think if you get more than if you purchase more than $15 at a sushi restaurant, you are allowed to pontificate.
Yeah, you become a historian. Well,
yes.
Every fish tells the story of the country, and it tells it inside your mouth.
Yeah, and then it tells it just to your mouth, and then you have to tell it to other people. You have to lecture other people about it.
You can reach out to Hayes Davenport on Twitter at HayesDavenport, Sean Clements at SeanClements, Patton Oswalt at PattonOswalt, and the show, Hollywood Handbook, can be reached on Twitter at Scoop_Troop. That is SCOOP_TROOP. You can listen to them on Art19, iTunes, and Stitcher, and the show's home site appears to be www.earwolf.com/show/Hollywood-Handbook. And finally tonight, Good One, a podcast about jokes by Headgum/Vulture. Its description reads, Good One, a podcast about jokes, is a podcast about, well, jokes, and the people who tell them. Each week, a comedian will play one of their jokes and then break it down with Vulture.com senior editor Jesse David Fox. This clip is from the episode from October 8th, 2018, titled Nick Kroll's Big Mouth Shame-Filled Dirty Talk. Its description reads, in the Season 4 premiere of Good One, Nick Kroll discusses the difference between shame and guilt and how both concepts factor into writing a show like Big Mouth, which returned October 5th for its second season on Netflix. In this clip, comedian and creative Nick Kroll delves deep into the psyche of his childhood self and how it influences the aforementioned animated series Big Mouth.
What I like about this scene is the relationship between the Shame Wizard and the Hormone Monster really, evolved because they're sort of like colleagues. They're not like nemesis. They're just sort of like talking, and you sort of realize they are colleagues. Like, you sort of, though the wizard was sort of designed to be a sort of nemesis to the monster, they're more just sort of like different sides of things. Like, it's because the Shame Monster reveals not to be all bad.
Yeah.
And in so much as the Hormone Monster last season wasn't necessarily all good. So how did sort of the whatever dichotomy you describe as, how did that evolve? And, and specifically beyond sort of shame as an interesting thing, like, how did you think about shame weaving into different parts of these people's lives?
I think after season 1, we had established that these kids have hormone monsters, but it felt like To just limit the idea that a kid has a hormone monster that's driving everything, or that adults similarly, that we just have our id that drives us, would do a disservice to like the complexities of like the emotional and scientific like construction of the human personage, you know? So, as I said, Andrew came in with this idea for this force of shame that became the shame wizard. And I think the idea that, yes, the hormone monster is scared of the shame wizard early in the season, and then you see moments where they are kind of working together, that they are colleagues. And in the last episode of the season, we sort of go backstage, as we say, and you start to see the inner workings of the shame wizard and the depression kitty, and that there are all of these different parts of kids and adults. And I think, again, the idea that the hormone monster and the shame wizard are kind of colleagues observing and affecting this kid, Andrew, felt to me like, you know, the way these things work, sometimes they work in contrast to each other and sometimes they work in tandem. As I said, like, I was interested in seeing how a shame could inform someone's desires. And I think, like, we had written and voiced much of this season before the Me Too movement took hold last fall. And when I started to read and see all the stuff coming out from different people involved who had been called out for their behavior, you know, I was like, in the parlance of our show, I was like, well, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of hormone monster stuff here. But also, to me, there's like a lot of shame wizard stuff. The idea of, like, you know, masturbating in front of a woman who doesn't want you to do it, to me, is like a very shameful act. It's like a thing of, I'm a piece of shit. I'm doing this to you. It's a status play, but also I'm gross and I know it, and it kind of turns me on. And I don't. To me, I'm like, oh, that's shame wizard is very much a part of this thing, as much as the hormone monster is as well. And I think we were interested in kind of, you know, trying to figure out where things are working together for good or bad.
It's interesting how it manifests in this season of the show, where it's just sort of like something happens with Andrew and Lola, which isn't necessarily assault, but it's sort of like not good.
Yeah.
And I think it is interesting that a show, what I think this season especially, it becomes clear that, like, this is a show made by adults about how middle school shapes later psychologies. Like, it's very much from the perspective of, like, this is making lasting damage.
Yes, correct.
Because I was thinking about there's this TED Talk that you've referenced by Brene Brown, who is a psychologist, and the part that I found most interesting, which is she says guilt is I did something bad and shame is I am bad.
Yes.
Which is, you're talking about a psychology of, like, oh, I am defining myself as bad.
Yes.
And is that what sort of attracts you most about how this show, those about teens, could talk about you are a person? How old are you now?
I'm 40.
If you're a 40-year-old man, is that what attracts you about doing a show about the teen years?
Well, I think it's like, you know, as someone who's now, this is a side note, I find the term I have therapy, who has therapy, I find that a very weird terminology. But as someone who's been in therapy now for, you know, over a decade, and is still talking about, like, the decisions and things that I'm doing today as a 40-year-old man are, like, deeply affected by the things that I was doing or happened to me as a 13-year-old boy, that I think, like, it's so present in our lives that puberty and middle school is forming so many of the patterns and foundations for our behavior for the rest of our lives. And I think we're spending the rest of our lives trying to either embrace or correct those things. And I think shame is something that really takes hold around puberty, because all of a sudden you're having these sexual desires. And, you know, shame isn't all bad.
Yeah.
Shame, I think, took hold as a way for societies to stop people from doing terrible things to other people. Then it becomes too prevalent in certain people's lives and takes over in a way that is unhealthy. And I think shame affects different kids in different ways. For Andrew, it's sexual stuff. For Nick, I got pantsed in 7th grade, and I was fully exposed to the girl that I had a crush on throughout my childhood.
Which happens in the scene right before the scene that you just heard.
Yes, and it is something that that happened to me and had like a profound effect on me for the rest of my life in various ways. And I think we're all kind of dealing with it.
You can reach out to Jesse David Fox at JESSEDAVIDFOX on Twitter. Vulture can be reached at VULTURE, Nick Kroll at NICKKROLL, and the show at Good One Podcast, GOODONEPODCAST. You can also listen to them on Spotify, iTunes, Art19, Stitcher, and I found them on Laughable after searching Nick Kroll. The show's website is listed as headgum.com, that is HEADGUM.com/good-1-a-podcast-about-jokes. And that is the word one, not the numeral one. All right, and rounding out the show is our final burst-o-durst for the episode. From October 19th, 2018, Hugging Despots, in which our intrepid correspondent rants and raves about foreign entanglements and beheadings.
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words about Donald Trump's love of dictators. It is tremendous. It is amazing. It is huge. For some unfathomable reason, he really enjoys hugging tyrannical despots. Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, Kanye West. Responding to the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, the president said his good buddy Mohammed bin Salman assured him that Saudi Arabia had nothing to do with the Washington Post writer's disappearance. Not only did the Crown Prince deny any involvement, it was a forceful denial. So it must be true. The president then offered an opinion that the columnist might have been slain by rogue killers. Yeah, sure, that's it. Or maybe he was consumed by spontaneous combustion or struck by an asteroid. No, it was the one-armed man, yeah. Or maybe he got stuck in a cave like that Thai soccer team. Flesh-eating bacteria. Could have been a 400-pound fat guy on a couch. Can't wait for the president's next rationalization that when it comes to investigative journalists and rogue killers, there's good people on both sides. The Saudis seem ready to admit responsibility, but now they claim they didn't mean to kill him. They were just torturing him when something went awry. Not their fault. Could have happened to any murderous regime. Turkish officials say they have evidence that a Saudi hit team dismembered and beheaded Khashoggi during his interrogation, which you might think would hinder the guy's ability to provide precise answers to their queries. Trump refuses to even consider slapping sanctions on the Saudis because people are innocent until proven guilty. This guy sees only what he wants to see. He's not just myopic. He's an ostrich, constantly burying his head in the sand. In this case, extremely oil-rich Saudi sand. For Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
Go to www.willdurst.com for the Will Durst Journal, otherwise known as comedy for people who read or know someone who does. You can also reach out to Will Durst on Twitter at WILLDURST. And with that, we bring this late October edition of Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, to a close. I appreciate your taking the time to listen. I hope you've enjoyed the selection of Comedy Soundcast clips, and that perhaps you'll choose to listen to us again and or seek out the full episodes of any or all the soundcasts sampled here. Perhaps me from the future has some idea of those things, because me from the present has absolutely no idea. So until next time, be decent to each other, happy Halloween, get out and vote for pity's sake, and if you wouldn't mind doing us a solid, could I possibly ask, nay, gently implore you to please pass the Succotash.
You've been listening to Succotash Clips, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast with your host, Tyson Saner. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and...
Imagine your company's name right here.
Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on iTunes, on Stitcher Smart Radio, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on Dunder, on Blitzen, on iHeartRadio, and on a laughable app. You can hear us streaming and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Succotash Show. Email us at
Tyson Saner at succotashshow.com.
or call into the Succotash hotline at our toll call number, 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us by using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Production of Succotash is overseen by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, hosted by Tyson Saner. Our executive producer is Marc Hershon. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is Kenny Durges. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye.